reality of the thing, but at the same time, we we don't really have the substance. When the Diksha Guru is, when you're connected with the Diksha Guru, then substance comes. Otherwise, we get some indication of what is real, but the real thing comes from Diksha Guru, from his heart transmission, and that that really understanding was given to us by Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj very clearly. Though later, going back and reading Srila Prabhupada's books, you find it so many places, but we didn't really get it clearly. We understood when we were there, Prabhupada was everything, and we were giving ourselves to Srila Prabhupada, and he was giving us his mercy. But how exactly it worked, it wasn't that clear. But Srila Sridhar Maharaj crystallized everything that Prabhupada gave us and put it into proper context, and we could understand more clearly that the Guru is like the essential aspect of spiritual development. That that's kind of known everywhere in Indian culture anyway. But the problem is, and the question is, how do you find a real Guru who's really connected with the things that I want to be connected with? And that's really depends on the sincerity, the heart of the seeker, and the nature, the spiritual reaching out of the Guru. So in Chaitanya Saraswati Math, we have there's 7 gurus, maybe 6 gurus, who've been given the chance by Srila Govinda Maharaj to become acharyas, and many of them are doing, well, they all are doing that position. And if someone expresses interest to us, then we give information about the different acharyas, and you begin to look at them online and things like that. And get a feel for the nature of the acharyas, or wait until, a lot of times they visit London, and you wait and see who you feel like you make a connection with. That's the real thing. It's not like a formal thing that you just do because you have to do it as part of a ritual function, but it's something that you have to feel in your heart. That's the most important thing, is that you feel it and that you sincerely desire it. You sincerely want it from your heart. And then we have faith that by the sincerity of the heart and the mercy of the Lord and the mercy of Sri Guru, everything will just happen automatically. It happens in mysterious, kind of mystical type ways. We see it as we're known as devotional mystics, not in that we develop siddhis or something for our own use, but we engage in the inner quest to understand who we are and what our position is in relation to the universe and what's beyond the universe. And so that type of quest is, in the current usage, is called mysticism. So we're like that. We engage in a devotional life that the whole thing is centered around awakening our inner spiritual notion. You're not putting it online, are you? I'm just talking for a few minutes. Huh? Really? Oh, good grief. Okay. So, anyway, any other questions?
When I come to know I'm ready for this?
You have to pray. Pray to Krishna. Okay. And pray to Sri Guru, wherever he is, that he will be revealed to you. And then, you pray, you keep praying, you keep chanting, you keep bowing down in arti, you begin to read some of the writings of Srila Sridhar Maharaj, listen to writings of Srila Prabhupada. We read Chaitanya Charitamrita in the morning, and Bhagavad Gita every Wednesday night. We read Srila Sridhar Maharaj's Bhagavad Gita primarily, but I also look at Srila Prabhupada's and the comparative presentation of the two. And by coming in contact with the Gita, coming in contact with the Smriti, the writings of the great Paramahansa Vaishnavas, then the path becomes clearer. It just gets clearer. The fog kind of clears. It becomes clearer and clearer, and you realize who is your guru. It kind of works like that. Krishna is the arranger, so he may come directly here, and boom, you make a connection. And you know, this is my guru. You have to feel, yes, this is my guru. And you will. You know, it will. Krishna, we have faith because we've seen it so many times that Krishna makes the arrangement for the sincere seeker to find a guru. And it all, you know, inevitably happens somehow or other by some higher arrangement. It always, you know, from what we've seen, happens in a really amazing, you know, transcendental way. It makes you, you know, it reinforces faith to see a sincere person come forward and to see how Krishna works within the heart of the disciple and the heart of the guru. And they, you know, they come together somehow or other. Sometimes it appears accidentally, sometimes it appears, you know, thought out or calculated. But, you know, we know that Krishna is making some arrangement for the progress of the devotee. And in that arrangement, Krishna sends Sri Guru. And then Sri Guru teaches you how to be a servant and how to, you know, enter into your original transcendental spiritual identity. And by like practicing, just simply bowing down or chanting for 5 or 10 minutes in the morning and praying, please Krishna, show me what I can do, who I can find that will give me direction. And the direction is like tangible and substantial, and it's not, you know, it's contained in directives like you should chant on your beads 16 rounds, 16 times a round, or if you're busy with service or busy in your life, then you chant at least 4 rounds. Don't let the beads fast. You'll get specific instruction like go to the temple as much as you possibly can, take care of your family, raise your family in such a way so that they have some understanding of spiritual life and the importance of spiritual life. And you know, you'll feel, and I've seen it, you know, for me amazingly so, in devotees that I've known for a long time. Now they've entered into this position by the arrangement of Srila Govinda Maharaj, and real substantial transmission is coming through them to people, and I'm seeing it in the new people. They're just, you know, they're just lit up, and I'm always amazed to see a new person initiated by, you know, one of my god brothers, and they're really getting it. It's just, I can't say it enough. I just love to talk about that because it's really, it's so like happy and reinforcing of our faith when you see that, you know, the real thing is coming through and people are being changed and transformed, and their life is becoming, you know, opened to the path of spiritual life. And they're being given the, you know, the direct kind of feeling, deep feeling of what Krishna consciousness can be. You know, that's the initial connection with Sri Guru is like that. The Sri Guru gives you some experience of Krishna consciousness, and you feel it very strongly, and you know, participate in the activities given by Sri Guru, and you know, slowly, gradually, depending on your position in the last life and sincerity in this life, you come to a stage where you begin to know that you have to confront, you know, you begin to see in yourself so much covering and so much work to do. And that stage is a stage that our gurus, Srila Sridhar Maharaj and Srila Govinda Maharaj, have dealt with. They're helping us in the, you know, the struggle to get past the illusion of Maya, the illusion of the external energy. And what's the way to do that? The way to do that is to to surrender our lives to Krishna. So Krishna comes as Govardhan, Srila, Giridhari, and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And while we see something of the deity, in the beginning we can't really see the real Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He comes in a form that appears like it's brass painted, this and that, and very beautiful and everything. But the real Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that's there in the Archa Vigraha, the form of transcendence, he's like for real. He dances, and we don't really see that for some time. But at the same time, gradually we do begin to see and feel something of the mercy that's like radiating from that deity form. There's, it becomes tangible. There's tangible mercy coming from the deity form. And if you look at Mahaprabhu's lotus feet and pray for help, close your eyes, and you'll experience something of what Mahaprabhu is beginning to give. It's like that. We have to like feel Krishna consciousness. That's the main thing. It's not necessarily intellectually understanding the philosophy or anything like that. One of our great gurus, Srila Gaura Das Babaji Maharaj, he was illiterate. He didn't read anything, but he was just a great soul, and all he did was serve in his vision of who he really was, which was a servant of Krishna, living with Krishna, and always having Krishna present. There's so many stories about Gaura Das Babaji Maharaj, whose only disciple was Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, which if you ever hear quotes from him or read some of his writings, he's like one of the most developed scholars I've ever seen. Yet his guru is illiterate. So how do you put that together? Because there's something going on that's way beyond any kind of intellectual development. But because of Saraswati Thakur's particular capacity, he could widely present Krishna consciousness. And as he got many very developed and highly progressing disciples, he wanted to expand that presentation of Krishna consciousness all over the world. And his disciples set up temples in India, but there was one disciple who had a vision of fulfilling the order of his guru to come to the West to present Krishna consciousness in English. And that was Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. And he decided, of the Western countries that speak English, he'll go to the USA, because the USA was the most influential at that time. And he thought, if I can make an effect there, then I can, give Krishna consciousness all over the world. So anyway, you may know the story. He came, struggled for one full year as a 69-year-old, my age, and
1965.
Yeah. He was born 1896. Yeah. So 1965, and alone, living from week to week on little donations that were given in a small room on the Upper West Side of New York. And then eventually he was teaching Vaishnavism, pure Vaishnavism, and the yogi who was running the studio where he was living finally understood that this guy is giving something that's dangerous to my presentation. So he had Prabhupada leave. Dhanyavad Prabhu. Jai Gurudev. Nice seeing you, Prabhu. Take care. So anyway, by his heart surrender to his guru through, you know, even such a great pure Vaishnava had to go through so many tests for an entire year alone. You know, after having lived in India for his whole life, he's in New York with blizzards, snow, freezing temperatures, alone. He has to cook alone. You know, he's just got his kit. What are those things called? The triple decker? Oh, you don't even know. I don't know. Do you know what they are, Dee Dee? I can't think right now. Anyway, I'm sure people watching know what it is. Anyway, we would cook with that. Rice on one level, dal on another level, sabji on another level, in different kind of bowl containers. Yeah. One heat coming up. One, you know, the heat on the bottom heats the second one, heats the third one, and so on. Yeah, so you've seen those. Yeah. So anyway, he would cook like that for himself, do his puja and you know, make, however such a high devotee does, make deeper and deeper connections with his guru. And finally, just as he was about to leave, Krishna sent him one man who was a professor at a university, and he made connection with him, and from there so many people began to come, and they got a storefront, and you know, it developed from there, and then boom, it spread all over the world within, you know, less than 10 years. You know, very amazing, you know, powerful stuff. And now we have, you know, it's said that Krishna consciousness will spread all over the world within the next 10,000 years. We don't know how it's going to happen, if it's going to happen in our lifetimes or probably not, probably in 3 generations, or maybe we don't even know. Could be 1,000 years, we don't know. But the, you know, we do know the internal power of Krishna consciousness and the internal power of connection with Sri Guru, so much so that we, you know, we try to convey that to people who come to the temple, that this is a chance, this is a, you know, like not only once in a lifetime, but once in many, many, many lifetimes. We read that in Bhagavad Gita. It's like one chance in a million, and somehow or other, you know, we've got it. You know, human life, we're just like underwater, but we're just understanding there's a surface, and we're just beginning to swim up, something like that, or we're beginning to dive in, depending on how you look at it. But anyway, you know, so Krishna consciousness gives us that kind of a real experience when we're connected with a real guru. And we have, you know, talking about that experience, we've had the experience in connection with the real guru, and by our own vision and feeling, we know that there are real gurus available for sincere seekers who want to, you know, find a deeper reality in their existence that has to do with, you know, their eternal transcendental position in relation to the Supreme Lord. And you know, it's a real substantial thing. So I don't know if that answers your. Yeah, is there more?
No, that's.
Okay, so yeah, so surrender to Sri Guru. We, you know, we saw in Srila Prabhupada, we saw in Srila Sridhar Maharaj, and you know, other God brothers that came at the time of Srila Sridhar Maharaj. I was only there for a short time, but I did see 2 or 3, and I had maybe, I don't know, 5 visits or something for maybe a month each, and but you could see the high, you know, high spiritual capacity, of course, of Srila Sridhar Maharaj, you know, unimaginable vision and unimaginable capacity for conveying that vision through language, which, you know, we can understand just without whatever little we've scraped the surface. It's no easy thing to convey an experience that's really, you know, beyond description in clear language. But you know, the scriptures have done it. Our gurus in the past have done it. So drawing on them, we try to do like that. And we saw in Srila Sridhar Maharaj, like, you know, he was directly connected with his guru. He gave exactly what Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur gave. And Saraswati Thakur said that of him, that now I know I've got one man who will, you know, properly convey my message in Srila Sridhar Maharaj. So Srila Sridhar Maharaj was, as Prabhupada called him, his Shiksha Guru, the Shiksha Guru of Srila Prabhupada. And so then, after Prabhupada departed, we were sent to Srila Sridhar Maharaj, and you know, got to take shelter of him. And then he left, and he gave us Srila Govinda Maharaj. You know, I've told you the story before, right? Yeah. So anyway, around Srila Govinda Maharaj, around Srila Sridhar Maharaj, I felt, wow, this is, you know, the same kind of experience, although it's different. You know, every person is completely different, even in the high spiritual realization. It's not as though they're all the same, but they're full of Satchit Ananda, but distinct, kind of personalized Satchit Ananda. It has to do with, you know, the nature of the soul. The soul has a particular nature that's unique. Just like now we're all unique. So why wouldn't we be unique in the absolute? It's just, you know, it's really logical thinking, but at the same time, it sometimes becomes difficult because of the prevalence of Brahmavadi teaching, Mayavadi type teaching, that everything is one, we all kind of merge into that oneness. Krishna comes from the oneness, he's a very high representation of the oneness, but more or less material. So we just read in Chaitanya Charitamrita this morning that particular kind of vision is considered by Krishnadas Kaviraj, who wrote Chaitanya Charitamrita, and was you know, deeply connected with Sri Nityananda Prabhu, who was Balaram himself, of course. Anyway, he wrote that those who view Krishna like that are pasandi. Pasandi, I don't know if that goes into Hindi or not, but it's Sanskrit. It means like a deviator, and in this case it's translated as an atheist. Someone who, atheist. Theist means someone who believes that God is a transcendental being, and there's a transcendental realm that we go to. And atheist is someone who doesn't believe that there's a person, Godhead, but just believes that there's, and either believes there's nothing and the material world is all just a bunch of chemicals, or believes that spiritual existence has no individuality. That's also considered atheism. And, you know, unfortunately, the general conception of spiritual life that has dominated India for so many years is that of, you know, Vivekananda, who came to Chicago, and everybody knows, 1896, I think the year of Prabhupada's birth, and talked about what is Hinduism, and presented the Mayavadi conception. This is all illusion. We're all sparks, part of the Supreme, and if we become purified, we leave and re-merge into the Supreme. We become, you know, even in our seeking, we become like Narayan, like God. I don't even like to say it, but, you know, that's what they believe. The sannyasis in that line call themselves Narayan. Maybe you've met some like that, I don't know. They call themselves Narayan, but if you read the Shastra, who's Narayan? He's someone who's completely beyond the material energy. So they're thinking, oh, I'm that Narayan within that's beyond the material energy, but now fully under the control of illusion. You know, and everywhere in the scriptures it says that's not possible. That the Supreme, Bhagawan, will come under the control of Maya. That means the Supreme Spirit is in a lesser position to the illusory energy. and it's not true. So we're in this world, many people thinking that we've come to this world just because it's some kind of unknown game that God is playing with himself. But you know, if you look around, there's just too many problems to see like that. There's too much, you know, things that are just wrong, that just don't work in this world. And, you know, why would that be? Why would God have to make a world that's imperfect? He could make a perfect world, you know, if there's a God. Even if it's just energy, he could make it perfect. Or it could make it perfect. It's even hard to express an understanding of the absolute without saying he or she or something, right? You have to define it as it is just not quite enough. There has to be some personality to it. So we say he, and that he is ultimately Krishna, but there's also she, and that she is Srimati Radharani, and they're an inseparable combination. The energy and the energetic, you know, combine together to engage in existence and expand themselves unlimitedly and give the chance for existence to very small parts of them. This is like cosmology. And so as small parts, we're always small parts. It's not as if a small part kind of, you know, melts into an absolute and becomes equal to the absolute. The Vaishnava idea is different than that. So we aspire after realizing that. And I was going to say the reason why that idea is so kind of attractive and has, you know, up until Srila Prabhupada came, kind of dominated the notion of Hinduism, and as a result of that, the atheism of Jawaharlal Nehru was very powerful. And when I went to India in the early 70s, it was very powerful. And there was more radical people in Bengal who were communists. I went to this American Express office in maybe 1973 in Kolkata, and I was just waiting in line behind this Indian guy, and you know, the clerk, who was obviously had some kind of Vaishnava connection, sees me and, you know, calls me forward. Oh, I'm a devotee, so you serve the devotee first. And the Indian guy in front of me, Bengali guy, begins to say, why you are giving CIA chance to go forward. And he began to yell, you are CIA, you are CIA. And I said, sir, I'm just an ordinary American kid who came in contact with my guru, and I'm trying to be a Vaishnava, and this and that. And he started yelling and yelling and yelling, and finally the clerk just said, don't listen to him. And I turned around, turned my back to him, he kept yelling for a while, and then just left. But, you know, people in Bengal thought that we were CIA. It was all a plant by the CIA to bring India back into a backwards condition, to stop the development of communism. Because the communists had this notion that communism was inevitable. It was like a social evolutionary inevitability. It would come, you know, develop, and we were trying to block it because we were, you know, capitalists. They had no idea about any kind of spiritual experience, so they're seeing completely in terms of material things. So they think that, oh, they must be. They couldn't have anything. They're just acting, but they're really good actors, so they must be trained, highly trained by the CIA. So, you know, people actually thought like that. And many people were attracted, but certainly not a majority of people. But gradually over time, I've seen in India has become different, you know, actually. The middle class has boomed, but that middle class has not become more and more atheistic. It's become more and more religious. And the idea of Krishna and Vaishnavism has kind of, you know, gone into even the highest levels of Indian society, like the Hindujas built a big temple, the Parthasarathi temple, Krishna and Arjuna on the chariot. Have you ever seen that? It's in Delhi. It's a huge temple. The Hindujas built it.
It's Lotus Temple. Lotus Temple.
No, I don't think it's called.
Lotus.
No, it's not a lotus. This is like a big fort. It's like a rebuilding of a giant old fort in the earlier ages. They designed it like that. And at the center, when you go in the main area to the left, is the deity of Parthasarathi, and many people come there, and it's run by our God brothers in ISKCON. But anyway, by that effect, it's the Indian society has transformed, and by the kind direction of Srila Prabhupada, we've got the shelter of Srila Sridhar Maharaj, who's given us, kind of like new kinds of glasses that see things in a different way, with a perspective and a hope for, seeing more and more clearly in the future. It's, all over. I'm talking about Srila Prabhupada a lot. I'm sorry, but I don't know if you've been involved or read any of his books or anything. But anyway, what was I going to say? All over Srila Prabhupada's books. I don't know. It's another thing of describing that what was there we didn't see. And I mean, like even Srila Govinda Maharaj told us, when he reads Bhagavad Gita, like this yellow Gita that we study on Wednesdays, he sees something different every time, something new, something fresh. And we understand from him and our other teachers that spiritual life is like that. Even if you reach the perfectional stage, every day is a new day, and with new wonder and amazement. So even in this world, every day is a new day, and you see miraculous things going on under the control of Krishna, directly or indirectly in this case. But still, it's amazing sunsets, so many different aspects of beauty and things that we perceive, that we're attracted to in this world, but we've just forgotten this this inner nature, this inner reality. So I'm getting tired. What time is it now? It's a little after 7. Yeah.
Just last quick question.
Yes.
I know there is other sources of knowledge or information and books, teachings, and material work what exists we can see.
Yes.
Sometimes I personally have questions regarding spirituality, and when I sit on meditation and I receive the answers and puzzles being resolved, and I was always wondering where I get that answer from. Is it within from my knowledge, or is it from consciousness, or is where that replies comes, and especially when on meditation?
Yeah, it's hard to say, because two things are happening. One thing is the spinning of the wheel of samsara. You've got a particular mind and intelligence that has a stock of capacity that's based on your previous actions and previous lives. So certain things can come automatically as a result of previously developed intellect and so many things. Like you find some people are just really super intellectual and they become college professors and so many things like that, and they seem to understand so many things about the world in a deeper way than we do. So there's that level of experience. Then the second level is the internal development that you've accumulated in previous lives in your approach towards surrender to Sri Krishna. And Krishna talks about that in the Bhagavad Gita. And there's one verse where he says, you know, whatever you do, do it for me, and don't worry about it, because that kind of action will never be lost. You'll always be protected. Arjuna says, oh, will I become like a riven cloud that just kind of loses existence? Krishna says, don't worry. It won't be like that. Whatever you do in this life for me, you'll get it. You'll get that in your future life. So, not having connected, at least in this life, with a guru, it's hard to say. You know, you could be getting some experience, revelation from that side. It could just be intellectual, or it's probably more than likely a combination of the two. Your previous spiritual development and your intellectual inquiry, along with your own desire, brings these things out. And you know, if it turns out that what you feel is right, that's probably a good thing. But at the same time, you have to ask yourself, right in which direction? Is this something that will help me develop as a servant, develop and awaken my own spiritual nature, or will it not be beneficial? Is it something about, getting things for me, ultimately, becoming God, or is it about giving myself to that personality who's the highest and beyond the universe? Is it about that kind of feeling and experience, or is it just something to do with personal development? Sometimes spiritual things, especially in this particular age, spiritual things that were previously effective in previous ages are not very effective in this age. And sometimes there's a fairly genuine, real presentation. Like Srila Prabhupada said, Yogananda was a sincere, presenter, even though he concluded about impersonal nature of the Absolute. Still, he was a sincere practitioner, and he felt that things should be done in such a way so that one becomes purified and so many things like that. Whereas others, like you're talking about Osho, others present it in a way that it's attractive to you in terms of physical sensuality and stuff like that. Yeah. So, and it becomes very attractive to people who are still thinking in terms of the temporary world. So it's a dangerous kind of attraction, and with your sincere feeling within, you have to ask yourself, is this going to bring me in the right direction or not? You have to just try to see like that, and along with what you're reading now, start to take a look at some of the books from Srila Sridhar Maharaj and Srila Govinda Maharaj, and I still practically read a page or two at a time, and then just kind of let it sink in. There's so much there,
1 page a day. Evolution on the book.
Yeah. All right. Subjective evolution, yes, especially that one.
One question, only one page is nourish me for rest of the day.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So what I'm saying basically is that as a practitioner, a student that's practicing spiritual life, according to our gurus, and I know it's right, is that we don't have the vision to see where people are at in terms of their previous life stuff. So somebody new walking in the temple could have been way more progressed in a previous life than where we are now. It's possible, and who knows? We can't tell. But we can tell, based on the instructions of our guru, what's going to bring one in the right direction and what's not going to bring one in the right direction. We have that sufficient vision given by our gurus that we can give advice and say, oh, that's probably not going to be the right thing, or pursue it and see where it takes you, or, you know, no, definitely, you know. So depending on what you're looking into, and depending on you, and depending on how the Lord wants to give you entry to understanding about Him, you know. There's so many. Krishna's amazing and expansive, and there's so many ways to approach Him that we can see. But at the same time, we do see that in terms of our approach to the Supreme, IDD, in terms of our approach to the Supreme, what we've got from these gurus is so thorough and complete and philosophically developed in relation to, you know, like I studied theology, and you study the Christian theology, which in some cases is pretty devotional, very devotional, but and in some cases they even understand that they shouldn't, you know, as a part of their spiritual practices, they shouldn't be killing animals. One or two of the Christian groups understand that, and you know, and some of them are very developed in devotion. Yet the concept of God is very hazy. They know there's a God, they feel that there's a God, but they can't understand anything about what is God's nature. And we're told that if you want to know someone, you have to know their nature. You can't just kind of, you know, oh, that guy must be a really good guy because, you know, he's behind one of those glass panels that is, what's the word, kind of shaded. What is this called? You know, a glass panel that's smoky, that you can't see through.
Painted glass. Painted glass.
Something like that, yeah. So if someone's behind that, you can't really get to know him.
Just see a shadow, that's it.
Yeah, see a shadow and maybe muffled talk or something. So, you know, in order to become acquainted with God, you first thing is to know His friends. Like if you want to see the Prime Minister, your best chance is to get to know a friend of his. And so like that, the Guru is like that, Krishna's friend. And we get to know that friend, and by that friend's arrangement, somehow or other he sets it up so we get in to see the Prime Minister. So somehow or other the Guru takes our tainted activities, our tainted desire to, you know, at least we want to give, even though it's mixed with so many different kinds of motives due to our previous and continued entanglement in material attachment. Still, the Guru accepts that service and takes it himself and sends it to Krishna. So, by the grace of Guru, we come in contact gradually with Krishna. But the Guru is, we're told the Guru is never lost. That he's with us, even as we develop into the transcendental world. So that like loving relation that develops in our heart, you know, won't be lost. We hear that. What that ultimately means, Srila Sridhar Maharaj says, Guru is one. So if you see Guru in a different form, that's the same. But yet we understand also that it's simultaneously different. There's different moods and so many things in spiritual life. Anyway, I'm just talking about the nature of Guru and the connection with Sri Guru that we all have a chance to develop. And what was that question again? Do you remember? I think I answered it.
Yeah, the question was the time we received the answer.
Oh, right, yeah. Yeah.
As you mentioned, you're from previous life and your spiritual knowledge.
Yeah, mixed with your material position. So that because it's mixed, you can't really tell. You don't know if this is the real thing or not. That's why you need guru, because we have limited knowledge. I mean, you just stand in your back garden and look up at the, well, in London you can't look up at the sky, but if you're out of London, you can look up at the sky and see just unlimited universes. And who are you? Really so tiny. How are you going to comprehend how that's been made and what's beyond it, if there's anything beyond it? It's like far out of our reach, but at the same time, we hear from Bhagavad Gita and the development of Bhagavad Gita in Srimad Bhagavatam, and we hear from that it's actually possible that, and Srila Sridhar Maharaj congealed that perfectly, saying that the finite, which is us, can perceive the infinite, the infinite, by the grace of the infinite. If the infinite wants to reveal itself to the finite, it must be able to do that. Otherwise, how can it be infinite? How can it not be able to do something if it's infinite? So, that's an example of one of Srila Sridhar Maharaj's really amazing pointed answers that just like kind of pierces through the covering of illusion. You can't say anything because it's so it's so deeply profound. Not only is it like intellectually as perfect as you can get as far as our perception, but also it's like filled with spiritual realization and energy. And just to hear it is, to begin to hear something like that coming from the lotus mouth of Srila Sridhar Maharaj, which we have something like 30 gigs of his discussions, a lot. And anyway, to hear something from the lotus mouth of Srila Sridhar Maharaj is like the grace of, that may require many ages. That's what we always hear, that in the Srimad Bhagavatam, to come to a point, this particular point some devotee has come to, requires the reading of all the Vedas, so many activities and stuff like that. And we hear similar things like that from our gurus, that this is not an ordinary chance. We think we may have stumbled upon it, but chances are we didn't. Chances are, this has been arranged by higher grace. Maybe as a result of our previous life, maybe just as a result of one moment of like sincere pleading. We can never tell. But the fact is, something real is coming to us in a very profound and detailed way about the nature of God and the nature of our eternal position in relation to Him, and the nature of what love is, and the nature of what real desire is, and the nature of what real ecstasy is, and the nature of what real knowledge is. This is being dispensed by our gurus, and we have the fortune of being able to, begin to feel something like that. So, I've told you the example before, but I'll say it again. If you're sick and you get a cure that starts to work, and you see other people who are sick, you want to give them the cure. It's just a natural thing. This is the Sankirtan movement of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that he sees perfectly well how everyone is diseased and what way they're diseased, and knows the perfect medicine. And what we have to do is become His servants, and He'll work through us to help people. And that's what Srila Prabhupada did. Not that we can ever be in that way surrendered, but we can try to be surrendered. And the natural impulse as we feel Krishna consciousness coming to us, we want to give it to others. So when someone comes who's sincere, it's like, oh, fantastic, we can we can give something. Because I can hardly walk out of my room, but yet you walk all the way here, and it's it's a nice exchange. And that's like the beginning development of our reciprocal exchange with God. We begin to exchange with the devotees, feelings of love and affection based on, taking prasadam, offering prasadam, revealing one's mind, asking sincere questions. What's the other two? Oh, giving gifts. Yeah, giving gifts. Giving gifts, receiving gifts, like that. So, the gift can be not necessarily a package of something, but it can be just, the gift of transcendental association, which is really, it's really very valuable for us in the development of our spiritual life. So anyway, these 6 things are going on amongst the devotees and nourishing the devotees and enabling us to, to continue in spiritual life and grow and flourish in spiritual life. It's all based on, what they call sadhu sangha. Sadhu means a person who wants the ideal and is trying for the ideal. And the ideal in this case is revealed to us as, pure, loving service to, that person who's the most beloved, who, we see in this world in different forms that appear before us, and we think that's the real thing, but it's really not. It's the illusion, and but there really is a real thing. And the great souls who have vision, coming from Ramanuja through Madhva and so many others, say that if we see something in the temporary world that has some aspect of beauty, knowledge, happiness, it has to be, it has to indicate, even though it's temporary and even though it will fade, there's something in the perception of that that quality, that beauty, that knowledge, that happiness, that ecstasy. There's something in that perception that is real, but it's just there and it's gone. And it leaves people in this world running from one experience to another, and thinking, oh, this was cool, that was cool, that was cool, that was cool. Never, mostly never beginning to realize that I'm just spending my life running around, getting different things, experiencing different things in this world, and not even thinking about what's going to happen to me when I leave. It's like the greatest. Maharaj Pariksit says it's the greatest thing in the world. How everybody is going on in their lives, one way or other, just not trying to think about what reality is. The reality that we will leave. I mean, sometimes I drive by these graveyards and I wonder, how can they have capacity for, there's 8 billion people in the world. How can they possibly, I won't be overrun with graveyards or something eventually? I don't kind of get it, yeah, how they think they're going to accommodate all these bodies. And of course the Vedic way is very clear and clean. Just, the body's done, it's not the real self. Just let it, that substance of matter merge back into the matter, no big deal. And there's some feeling attached, continued attachment even to the ashes in most people. But the high souls realize, whatever energy may be there in the ashes is just part of the illusory experience. The higher self has already gone on, probably to another body, depending on their activities, placed in a position where they can develop in spiritual life more in one way or other, and also receive their karma, good or bad. It's coming in different ways. So do we want to just be the actor in the play, receiving, karma as it appears before us on the stage? Or do we want to actually do something to leave the stage? In one way we're kind of stuck. We think we're stuck on the stage, but in actuality we're not. We can That's just one example. We can learn to get off the stage by the mercy of a director who's off the stage telling us to leave. Anyway, yeah, we're in, just like when you see a film, you're sitting there watching the film, and you get absorbed in the reality of what's going on the screen. You kind of, to one sense or another, you kind of lose touch with your actual self. You're just kind of glued to the seat, and your mind is just floating into the experience of the film. But, so similarly, the soul is like spaced out on the illusory energy and forgetting the real self. But, you know, the real self is actually, you know, there in the theater with all these other people, and the lights are going to go out and you're going to have to get up and go on. So, you know, think about it and realize that it's just a movie, and try to understanding that, or at least beginning to accept that, and accept the understanding that there's a good chance there's something beyond that. Then once understanding that, then you try to search for that. And trying to search for that, you know, come to the understanding that's there in our book, Sri Guru and His Grace. The beginning of it talks about understanding our capacity. We have very little capacity to understand or experience. We all kind of know that. And in that, you know, lack of capacity, but yet at the same time, our drive to understand, in spite of our own lack of capacity, brings us to the lotus feet of Sri Guru. It's just a very natural thing. You should read that book, Sri Guru and His Grace, even though a lot of it talks about what happened after Prabhupada disappeared. But it talks about what it is in a real guru that you would be, you know, looking for and seeking after. So I think I'm ready to end. Jai. Srila Bhakti Rakak Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Srila Bhakti Nirmal Acharya Maharaj ki jai. Sri Chaitanya Saraswati Mat Acharya Brinda ki jai. Om Vishnu Pad Visvavarena Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada ki jai. Sri Chaitanya Saraswati Mata ki jai. Nitai Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari Bol.
Bhakti Vigraha Nyasi Maharaj ki
jai. Could you give Sandeep a book also?
Yeah.
It's page 60. Yeah. So you lead, Didi? Please, please. I got it. Yeah. Thank you for watching. However insufficient it was, something. It was something.
This was 1 hour.
Oh.
Definitely something.